Hello, it's Friday, July 9th. I'm David Oxley, Senior Europe Economist at Capital Economics, and this is the Week in Review. As well as watching the football, we've been busy producing lots of economic research. On the commodities side, the week began in turmoil following the collapse of the latest OPEC Plus meeting. Having updated clients on the state of play in an online briefing the Friday before, commodities economist Samuel Berman followed up this week with a note explaining the likely next steps and their price implications. We've been forecasting for a while that prices will peak in this quarter and that $100 per barrel forecasts are wide of the mark, and this week's events have only strengthened our conviction. OPEC Plus members are wrangling over how to gradually withdraw the emergency measures introduced to counter the pandemic's impact, which has also been a dominant theme of our coverage of global central banks. Our take on the Fed's latest minutes was that board members aren't in a rush to taper monthly asset purchases, but other central banks moved further down the path towards normalisation this week, including the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Bank of Israel, both of which took concrete steps to trim their support measures. The Bank of Canada is also likely to taper next week, though Stephen Brown, who heads our Canada Economic Service, argued that the more interesting outcome of its meeting could be a demonstration of how its reaction function has changed in response to the crisis. Speaking of changing reaction functions, Group Chief Economist Neil Shearing and Chief Europe Economist Andrew Kenningham held a drop-in session on Thursday for clients to explain what the ECB's policy review and the overhaul of its inflation target will mean in practice. In addition to our analysis of the latest decision making, we're continuing to consider the future of central banking. An in-depth report this week on central bank digital currencies, which I co-authored with our chief Asia economist Mark Williams, explained how they could eventually drive far-reaching change in the worlds of monetary policy and banking, although we concluded that their medium-term potential was generally more prosaic. Mark's colleague Julian Evans Pritchard was looking this week at the extraordinary moves by Beijing regulators against ride-hailing app Didi just days after its New York IPO. Although data security concerns were cited as the reason behind orders to remove Didi from Chinese app stores, Julian says the episodes should be looked at within the broader context of US-China decoupling. You can find all of the research I've mentioned and more on our websites. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you have a good weekend and enjoy the football.